and welcome to my new podcast. Some cute little font here that announces the title. This is Unapologetically Her, and I am your host, Hannah Laska. I am so beyond excited to be here talking with you right now. This is my first ever podcast episode, so I am a little bit nervous and just really excited. So what is this podcast about and who is it for? Well, honestly, think of it as like a FaceTime with your bestie. We are going to be talking about all things human, right? So this is for anybody who just needs a safe place to land. We're going to talk about relationships, marriage, self-love, identity, mindset. We're going to talk about nervous system regulation. We're going to talk about everything lifestyle related. So I am doing this completely unscripted. So we're just going to flow together. Basically, that's how this is going to go. So how I do this is I give myself a few topics that I want to talk about, and then we're just going to let the conversation flow organically. So what I really want to start with is how, as humans, we always want more for ourselves, and we need to learn that we will always be becoming. We're never going to be a finished version of ourselves. And I think this podcast is a perfect example of that for me, because when I was trying to get ready to do this podcast, I, had these big goals and these big dreams for myself. And I thought, wow, I'm not ready for this. I don't have a space to do this. I don't have a fancy setup. I don't have all of these huge things that I feel like I need to do this podcast. And that's just it. When you have a goal for yourself, it's never going to be perfect. You're going to have this goal and you're going to know what this goal is and how big and huge and wonderful it is. But when you start out, you're not going to be there. And that's okay. That's the journey of becoming. And that's what we're doing here together right now. So I didn't have a space to do my podcast. And so I could have said, well, dang, I'm not prepared. I'm not ready to do this today. And I could have just pushed it off until later. But I said, no, I'm going to make the most with what I have, and I'm going to do it. And we're going to do this journey together. And you'll get to see that when you show up for yourself and you do the things that you want to do, you get to watch the journey unfold. So right now I am sitting in my crusty chair that my dog sleeps on every night. I am in my dining room against my only wall that I thought was aesthetically pleasing enough to do a podcast. But you know what? I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be becoming my new version of myself on this podcast with you. I'm so excited. So another thing I want to talk about too is that this podcast is going to be about all topics, all things. And so if you ever have any suggestions, you can always comment them below, DM them to me, because this is going to be an interactive podcast where we just vibe together. I do already have guests plan to come and join me on this. So we're going to do a weekly podcast once a week. And I'm really excited because this episode is going to be airing on New Year's Eve. And what a wonderful time to talk about becoming yourself on New Year's Eve, right? So the title of this podcast is Unapologetically Her. And if you know me, you know that I'm unapologetically me. And that's what I want to share with you guys, is the essence of how to be unapologetically yourself and how to not be palatable to everybody, because you don't need to be palatable to everybody. So on this journey of becoming yourself, you're going to learn to be the version of yourself that you want to be, regardless if people love you, how they feel about you. And that's part of this journey that we're on together. So part of being unapologetically her is not caring what people have to say about you, right, bestie? So I love to be me. And a lot of people love me being me, but a lot of people feel uncomfortable about me being me. But at the end of the day, if I listen to the people who don't like what I'm doing, I would never get to go where I want to go. And I wouldn't be here doing this with you right now, bestie. So the biggest takeaway that I want you to know just in life is to be who you want to be. That's the beauty of life. And so we're just kind of troubleshooting and going along life together, me and you right now on this podcast. So welcome to 2026. We're so excited. What a fun time to be alive. This year is our year to not give a beep what anybody has to say about us. We're showing up in our true power, and our true essence, you know? So I have done this huge I have done this huge mindset shift over the last 3 or so years. I used to be super self-conscious. I cared about what everybody thought about me. I would post online and then I would spiral because I'd be like, oh my gosh, what are people thinking about me? How am I being perceived right now? What are people's thoughts about me? And it would put me in this weird place where I was just too busy thinking about what everybody else thought about me. And I never really thought about what I thought about me. And at the end of the day, the only person that matters is what you think about you. It's that relationship with yourself. So I really learned to just start being me. And it's kind of hard to start being yourself at first. At first, it feels a little bit weird because throughout our whole entire life, we wear these masks that we're conditioned to wear. People will tell you, oh, you're too loud, so you start to quiet yourself down. Or people will say, you're too emotional, so you stop letting your emotional side be shown. So you carry this mask that you thought you needed to wear to be palatable to other people. So when you start to be your true, authentic self, it feels really weird at first. It almost feels fake because you're so used to living in these masks. So when you take those masks off and you expose yourself, you feel raw and you feel vulnerable, and it's kind of hard. But the more you do it, the more you realize I don't care what people think about me because I don't have a mask on anymore. I get to be me. And that alone is the most exciting feeling ever. And it's a journey. And so I feel like I've come so far on my journey, but we are always still becoming. That's the whole theory. The whole point of this podcast today is that we will always be becoming. You'll never be the best version of yourself. But because, well, here's what I want to say. You'll never be the finished version of yourself, okay? But you will always be the best version of yourself how you are right now. So this is kind of a little bit off topic, but I lost 100 pounds naturally. And I did it through diet and exercise. But the biggest thing that helped me lose the weight was that I wasn't trying to be the finished product. I wasn't trying to be skinny me and the version of me who already lost 100 pounds. What I did was I started loving myself for how I am right now in this very moment. Because who you are right now is enough. It's perfect. It's exactly where you're supposed to be. So even if you have all of these huge, amazing goals for yourself, that's fantastic. And I love that you have those goals for yourself. Don't ever lose those goals, right? But what do you do about right now when you're not where your goals are? You're here, your goals are here. Well, you love yourself here, right now. And then it helps you get to those goals. And then you know what's crazy about reaching your goals? You reach your goal and then you already have a new one for yourself. So it's like if you're constantly waiting until you reach your goal, you're never going to be fulfilled. The secret is feeling fulfilled where you are right now, and then those goals, they become just little like mirrors of you of, oh, look at what I'm capable of doing, not pillars of, oh, once I get there, I'm finally going to be happy. No, you have to be happy right now, and then you will get to those goals, and you will have more goals, and you're going to exceed those goals. So the biggest secret is loving yourself where you are right now. The becoming. You're always becoming. You're always wanting to be more. Love yourself for who you are right now and watch where things grow and where things change for you personally. And um, another thing about me is that I am a mom. I absolutely love being a mom to two young kids. And so I think it's so beautiful that we get to be on this healing journey for ourselves, but also for our children. Because the more you show up for yourself, the better of a parent you can be to your children. So people will ask me, like, can I heal while I'm a mom? Absolutely. That's the best time to do it because your kids get to watch you actively healing yourself. As a parent, we still make mistakes. We're learning just like our kids are learning, right? So when we make a mistake, our children literally get to watch how we process because how we everybody's going to make mistakes. That's part of being a human. But the most important thing is how you react when you do make a mistake. And that's the modeling and the lessons that we get to teach our children is how we respond after we've made a mistake or during the process of making a mistake. And that's what helps them become strong and independent humans that have a good heart and don't bulldoze people through life. Because if they see their parents apologizing and owning themselves, then they learn to own themselves, their actions, and apologize when they're wrong. And so we get to model that to our children. And what a beautiful process that we get to bring them in on. And another thing I want to say is that moms especially have such a hard time taking time for ourselves because we think, oh my gosh, if I'm taking this time for myself, I should be giving it to my children because my children deserve this from me. But do you know what your children deserve from you? They deserve you happy, rested, and in love with yourself. Because if you're the pitcher, mom, you get to be the pitcher and you're pouring into everybody's glasses. And so what happens when your pitcher's empty? You can't pour into everybody's glasses from an empty pitcher. So you have to go refill your pitcher so you can be the person who gets to spread love and spread joy. So it's not selfish and it doesn't make you a bad parent when you take time for yourself. Even if that means you have to spend a little bit of money, so go get yourself a massage. Yes, that costs money and maybe you could have used that for something for your children, but if you're at your breaking point and you need something to help you feel better, you deserve that. And by you taking the time and a little bit of money to go get yourself a massage, you're filling your pitcher back up so you can come home and pour into your children and pour into your family. And when you take that time for yourself, boy, you really recharge yourself and become a better version of yourself. As humans, I think the most important thing is that we're constantly working on ourselves. And there's nothing selfish about working on yourself because when you work on yourself, you're a better mom. And then also, when you work on yourself, you're a better partner, a better wife, a better husband, a better whoever you are to somebody. Because have you ever heard the saying, if they don't take care of themselves, they can't take care of you? I mean, I truly believe that because when you're in, let's go into a new topic now. Let's talk about relationships, long-term relationships, marriages, things like this, okay? So when you're with somebody for a long time, the whole point of that is to grow together. And what does that even mean though? Like you each get to grow separately as people and then together get to grow even better and stronger as a couple. And so both people have to actively be working on bettering themselves. And what does that mean to better yourself? That doesn't mean you have to try to be more handsome, more beautiful, more attractive. No, it's how do I show up for me? Because the more I show up for me, the more I get to show up here in this. So when you learn to advocate for your feelings and feel your feelings, when you start to eat better, take care of yourself better, have better personal hygiene, those things that you do for yourself also translate into the love that you have for others. Because have you ever heard the saying, you're only capable of feeling the love that you have for yourself. So if you want to feel this immense amount of love, how are you going to feel it if your body has never felt that insane love? How are you going to feel it from somebody else? You have to first feel it from here, from you. So learning to be in love with yourself is not selfish. It's the most loving thing you could ever do. Sometimes people will tell me I like myself too much, and that's literally impossible. You know, there's such thing as an ego and self-love. Your ego is like this funny little thing that is to protect your softness inside. And we all have an ego, right? Your ego is, I don't need to do that because I'm better. I don't need to heal because I'm already healed. That's an ego. But loving yourself in a place of, I love myself. I take care of myself. Because I take care of myself, I get to be a better person. That's the opposite of an ego. That's self-love that helps you be a better person. And every single human has an ego. And even people who are healing, even me in my healing journey, I still have an ego. We all do. And so there will be times where your ego will talk and will tell you, you don't have to do that. You're already amazing. Or, your ego will have these, it's almost like that little thought in the back of your head. That's kind of your ego. And so I think people get self-love and loving yourself so confused with an ego because the ego is opposite. An ego can even be from a place of self-hatred, like don't do that because you're not good enough. People are going to make fun of you because you're not where you need to be because you're still becoming. That's your ego speaking. Your self-love is, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I'm still going to show up for me because I deserve to. You see the difference? You see the difference in tone? And so the whole point of being unapologetically her is that you're going to learn to step into your power, to love yourself, and to not care what people think. And it's not from an egotistical perspective, it's from a self-love perspective. And I just want to change this narrative around self-love so much because people absolutely lose their mind when somebody loves themselves, because we have been conditioned to not love ourselves, because the society tells us that if you love yourself, you have an ego. And so me and you right now, we're changing that perspective. We're changing that idea because we don't think that way anymore. It's 2026, baby. Happy New Year! And in 2026, we are going to love ourselves loudly and proudly and boldly. And so I want to share a story with you that I learned once upon a time, and it really made me realize that a lot of people are uncomfortable with self-love. And not because they're uncomfortable that you love yourself so loudly, they're actually uncomfortable that they don't love themselves that loudly. And it's not, if you don't love yourself loudly, it's not your fault. It's literally the conditioning that we have lived in, that if you love yourself, it's your ego. So I used to work with a lot of women, and one time I posted a video of a picture of myself, and the caption said, "I'm so stinking cute." And all the girls lost it. They made fun of me, they were laughing about me, and they accidentally sent me a message that was supposed to be for a group that I was not supposed to be in, but I saw it anyways. And it said, "Hee, guess who I am? I think I'm so cute." And they were all sending it back and forth, being like, "Look, I'm so cute. Oh, I'm so cute. Who am I?" But you know what that made me realize? They weren't making fun of me for thinking I was cute. They actually really just wanted to call themselves cute, but they didn't know how to do it. So they had to use making fun of me thinking I'm cute as a way for them to call themselves cute. And so that's that, like, if women make you feel funny for saying you're cute, it's because they want to find themselves cute too. And so you're allowed to think you're pretty. You're allowed to think you're gorgeous. You're allowed to think you're awesome, because you are. And you're allowed to feel that way. And you're allowed to say it out loud too. And when you do, it is going to make people uncomfortable because they also want to love themselves that loudly. So practice it. Even if that means right now just saying, "I'm cute," to yourself. Say it. Because the more you say it, the more you feel it inside. And so back when I used to really not love myself, oh my goodness, my self-talk was, "Oh, you're too fat, you're too annoying, nobody likes you, people are only watching you to make fun of you." And I had these negative, terrible self-thoughts. And how did I get out of those thoughts? I had to force nice thoughts. Because I was so used to being like, well, everybody doesn't like me because I'm not enough. So how did I switch to, I'm the best, I don't care if people like me because I love me? I really just started telling myself, "Hannah, you're okay. You're pretty. You're beautiful. You're allowed to feel that way." And at first it felt so weird and so awkward. But you know what? The more I did it, the more easy it became to feel. And so one thing that I love to do even today, it feels a little awkward at first, but once you get comfortable with it, it's really empowering. When you're doing your makeup or brushing your teeth or putting on your outfit in the morning, look in the mirror and say, "Wow, you look so pretty today," to yourself. Because when the first person that compliments you in the morning is you, baby, you just set your day up, because you already set your day up with self-love. So I call it mirror gazing. And basically, it's just when you look at yourself in the mirror and you find one thing that you love about yourself and you admire it. Like even if you have to force it at first, like, "I really like my makeup today," just start showing up for yourself and do it every day. And do it every single day. Tell yourself something nice every single day and just watch how things change. And watch how you start to change and how your love for yourself starts to change. It's really empowering to give yourself love. And the more you do it, the more naturally it comes. And so, like, I love myself so much that I don't feel like I have to force it anymore. I don't have to look in the mirror and force myself to find something I love. I look in the mirror and I'm like, I love every part of me, and not just my outsides. I love my insides because I'm working on myself every day. And that's another thing too, is we're still becoming, right? That's the theme of our podcast this week. is that we're still becoming. And so I have times where I'll slip up and I'll say, wow, I'm allowed. I'm allowed to be a human. I'm allowed to make mistakes. And that's part of my journey. And it teaches you a lesson. And so, even though we're becoming and we're loving ourselves and we're on this amazing feeling and this amazing journey, we're still going to have ups and downs. And it's about how you show up for yourself in the ups and especially in those downs, because everybody's going to have a moment where something kicks you when you're down, and you have to really, instead of, oh, I knew this was going to happen to me, I deserve it. No, you did not deserve it. You still have to know that you are worthy and that this is a moment to teach you something, because hardships make strong people. And so when you're going into a next phase of your life, it's not always going to flow so freely. That's unrealistic. Life is about the journey of ups and downs and how we handle the downs. And so, like maybe someone's on a down journey right now and things are so difficult, and that's why you're here watching this, because you just need a little bit of love and a little bit of positivity. Well, guess what? This loop that you're down is just going to bring you right back up. But you just got to ride that wave, and you got to know that you are the best person, that you are an amazing person, and that this is part of your journey. And so if you're in a hard time right now, look around and think to yourself, what lesson could I learn from this? And instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, why is this happening for me? What is it here to teach me? And so when you take those hardships of your life and you really like dissect them and think, what could I learn from this? And how can this help me become a better version of me? That's when you start to ride the wave back up. Life is about, literally life is an up and down. It's like a wave. And I just kind of got off. I had a little thought process about how our thoughts and our brain literally creates brain waves, and they're like this. And so literally life is a journey of up and down, even our brain waves, which I think we'll talk about brain waves in a whole nother maybe next week, because that I could literally talk about for a whole hour in itself, is how our thoughts literally create waves which create energy. So how people will say, like, I'm an energy person, I can feel energy. You quite literally can, because they're waves, and some waves are really really like this, and some waves are really like this, and so you can feel different energy. And so we'll talk about that next week, because I think that's a really good stepping stone for kind of building this podcast up. But today we're keeping it kind of light. We're not going too in depth, because like I said, this is like a conversation that we're having right now. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to come here with a pen and paper, like you're here to learn. We're going to learn together, and there's going to be snippets of like, oh, okay, I do actually want to make notes of this, but also this is kind of just like a free and relaxing time for you and I to just kind of talk and have a good conversation and learn together. So I want this to be a safe space for you and a comfortable space for you. And we're growing and we're evolving and we're learning together. And so I honestly don't even know how long we've been here talking about this. I don't want this episode to be too long, but I do want to say a couple more little touching points. And that's just kind of to talk about what we, let me think. I want to talk about I want to summarize what we talked about. And I'm not even going to cut that clip, because I want to show you that this is organic and that we are literally just having a conversation. There's been a couple moments where I have like slipped up during this, because I'm human, and talking to a camera is still something I am learning to get comfortable with. And so I'm not going to go through and tightly edit this and make this the most perfect podcast ever. Like, I want this to be the most raw and vulnerable and realistic and organic podcast possible, because we are literally growing together. And I think that when we watch things on the internet, we think of like some people like portray perfection, and that's not what I'm trying to portray here. I'm not perfect. I'm the farthest thing from perfect, and this isn't going to be a perfect podcast. I want you guys to literally watch how this journey grows, because that's how life works. Is you have an idea, And then the hardest thing about having the idea is taking the first steps. So the easiest part is the idea. Oh, that's a great idea. But the hardest part is getting started, because everybody has those thoughts of, well, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready yet. I don't have the perfect setup. And that's the becoming. And so you don't have to be perfect to get started. And that's why I'm right here in my crusty dog chair talking to you guys right now, so you can watch where this goes. Maybe in a year I might have my own little space to be doing this podcast. Who knows? That's a goal for me, and I'm not going to wait until I get to that goal to show up. I want you guys to literally watch how, when you show up for yourself, how things fall into place. So I want this episode right now to be a reference point. Maybe in a year I'm going to pull this episode up and be like, guys, look at how this journey has grown, and look at how much progress that we've made as a podcast, as a whole, together. And that's the journey of life, is that we start somewhere, and things may not go as I plan. There may be pivot points. There may be moments where I want to give up, or it's feeling really heavy, or I don't feel like recording. Like, that's the journey of life. It's not always beautiful. It's not always perfect, but it's how we choose to show up for ourselves in it. And I just want to say one more thing, is that I was so nervous to do this podcast today. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to sit here and talk to a camera for 30 minutes. Like, what am I going to say? And then I was like, should I make myself a script? And I thought of a couple words to kind of help keep me like on point, because I'm the queen of babbling. And so I was like, am I just going to babble and like say some stupid stuff? I got nervous, and I had all these thoughts like, what if nobody watches it? What if people watch it and make fun of me? What if I say something stupid? And like, those are scary thoughts. But at the other end of that is, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to do this. I'm so excited to show up as me. I'm so excited to have people watch this journey with me, and maybe they'll feel inspired to start their journeys, because nobody's perfect. And I'm showing you that right now by sitting here doing this right now. I'm showing you that nobody's perfect, and that we're all riding our waves. And I am just so thankful to be here. I'm getting a little bit emotional. It's just such a journey for me. And like, for me, showing up here right now doing this, it feels like a huge stepping stone for my life. Like, I took the energy and the action to show up today. And that alone does not go unnoticed. Even if this episode only gets 10 views, I still energetically showed up for myself, and there's no way that there's not going to be a positive from this. Because even if the positive is that I had a fun time talking with you guys and it got me out of my comfort zone, that's enough for me. Like, the goal is, of course, I want this podcast to be watched by people, to be enjoyed by people. I want this to be something that you look forward to once a week, that we're putting out this podcast. But I'm not clinging to that. Like, it's not like, if this doesn't go well, everything's going to be ruined for me. No, I'm literally just riding this wave. I'm trusting in myself. And I know that if I show up for myself, I have goals and I have expectations for myself, but I also am learning to love the process in this moment. And that's how manifestation happens, is when when you manifest, you have a goal, right? But as humans, we try to think, what stepping stones can I take to make this goal happen? And actually, that hurts your manifestations. You have to have a goal that you want for yourself and trust the process. The process is never beautiful. Well, it's beautiful. It's always beautiful. But the process is never perfect. Like I said, I wanted to do this podcast so perfectly. I wanted to have a great place to do it. And if I wouldn't have started because I didn't have that, then I would never get to where I need to go. The hardest thing is showing up for yourself and making that first step. And we'll talk about manifesting more, because brainwaves and manifesting literally go hand in hand. And so I think our whole next episode, we're going to talk about manifestation, brainwaves, how to get what you want out of life. And I think that'll really build up a solid foundation for the podcast Unapologetically Her.